that I've described did not come without emotional trauma and pain. The mere fact that I always had to provide to an extent for myself had me questioning at times, why me? Yeah. Why did I have to be born into a family that can't provide for me in a way that I don't have to be doing more than those around me? So I didn't understand then that others had it worse because I was just seeing my own pain.
Reality. Yep.
Right. So I've had to forgive my parents for some of what I think they put me through psychologically, like my father, the fact that he didn't support my education after high school. I grew to learn that he was seeing it through his eyes because he went through life without an education either, but he was able to help me through the basic learning from grades 1 to high school. He taught himself enough to take me through. So he was seeing, you must have everything you want now because you finish high school, no more education.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand it then, and it really had affected me. And then I grew up in an abusive household as well. My father and mother were always fighting because poverty was real. They shielded us from the poverty itself, but it was a burden on them to be providing. And so my father's personality is, he's a very headstrong person. My mother, headstrong too, but my father is of the view that anything him say go. And when my mother challenged that, it's war in the house. Yeah. So I've seen them at their worst. I've seen physical abuse between, my mother from my father. I've seen the emotional abuse. I've seen the psychological. So those are things that I kind of shut out back then. Each time I saw it, I would go somewhere by myself to block it out as if it didn't exist. So I was always in a bubble in my own little world. So the older I got is the more I was able to open up inside to absorb the feelings that I had and understand them better. And now as a judge at the family court, I'm saying it is the best preparation I could have gotten to deal with the type of matters.
Is the best teacher. Yes, ma'am.
So the fact that I was a prosecutor for 9 years and only did criminal matters, making that transition to a family court that is family matters that deals with emotions, maintenance, domestic violence, custody. Those are the issues that I'm dealing with, nothing just strictly criminal.
Okay.
The preparation that I got from my own household as a child, I can relate to almost everything that comes in front of me. Yes. So I'm seeing it firsthand. Okay, so sorry about that. Okay, I was a little distracted. So I got that preparation, and it's only now, as I tell you, in my daily activities, I'm saying, boy, back then I used to resent my house. I used to resent my household and my parents. But today, as a judge, all I can say is I'm happy I had the experience because I'm
appreciating.
Yeah, so I can make better decisions for in terms of the cases that I hear, because I can relate. And yes. Sometimes even when the parties talk, I can tell them exactly what they're feeling and how they're feeling. And I find that I connect with my clients
more,
and I get good positive results as a judge at the family court. So, people will say, how you do it because that place is emotional and depressing. I don't find it that way because of how I'm able to transform lives. And that is what motivates me to be there for as long as I can be. I see the transformation daily, and it motivates me to want to transform more family lives. So, yeah.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
So I was going to say, like, in your day-to-day life as a judge, you state that you deal with family matters, maintenance, etc. What are some of the more pressing issues that you deal with the family? What are those issues that you see that are predominant in Jamaica that probably needs to be addressed?
Issues of domestic violence, issues of maintenance. Custody is a recurring issue, but not in the context that both parents want the same thing. A lot of times in the custody issues, the one parent will only want routine, consistent access. Because a lot of times, mother will use the child as a pawn and withhold the child from the father just to punish the father. It's a very real thing. So a lot of times the fathers will come. I don't want the child to live with me, Judge. I just want to have access to the child, to see the child when I want. So the bigger issues I deal with are domestic violence and maintenance, because as it relates to maintenance, there is this misunderstanding that if I give monies January, it's okay for me to give money again June. I don't need to give February, March. And then they come and they say, I don't know why bring me to court because I don't know why she bring me to court because I maintain my child. Yes, when was the last time you gave maintenance?
Back to school.
So there's no continuity to maintain. So there's that misunderstanding. And so the mothers know if the father don't maintain, them not make it to the child. So it's like the child is a product.
Yeah.
Exactly. But domestic violence, especially since COVID, has been on the rise. And so we have a lot of households where, because they have to stay more together, it forces a lot of the issues that normally go under the carpet to come out because they're in each other's face, they're seeing each other daily more. So it's almost like they can't, they resent being in the cramped spaces because these are not people with money and mansion and live in mansion. They live in small, cramped houses, and to be engaging each other more because they can't do better because of the situation, COVID. They're not able to control the inside, the feelings of resentment that they have for each other. So you have a lot of physical violence. You have a lot of children being molested by older siblings. You have a lot of psychological abuse taking place and emotional abuse because they're in the household sometimes with each other, and for days they don't talk to each other. So you have one person sitting in the corner, can't approach the other party because the energy and the vibe just not right, and then the other party just decides, listen, I'm not deal with them, I just necessity me not deal with them. So it's almost like you're living in the house and you're not living, you're not breathing. So we have a lot of issues, and the government's response to the psychosocial services that are relevant to assist in counseling some of these people, because a lot of them are victims of abuse themselves. Because they're a cycle being repeated. So they don't appreciate that what they're doing is wrong. Like one man came and he said, yes, Judge Malika, but nothing wrong with that. That Mr. My father used to do, and she never have to come here, so we cuss and fight all the time. So it's almost like this time. So it's
culturally embedded in us that certain things are right. And when you either become somebody in a prominent position like yourself, or when you move out of country or the setting, you realize how wrong that we have a deficiency. We have so much problems back home with how we deal with conflict resolution, how men and women interact, how we think about women, how we sexualize women. All other things come into play.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
I would definitely like to say, like, just like hearing you speak, your journey is very awesome. Just simple fact of where you're coming from and where you are currently, like it's definitely inspirational, and I'm sure that a lot of persons like seeing and hearing your story will definitely appreciate your journey and what you're currently doing, and even what you've done in the past. And I strongly feel like issues such as domestic violence needs to be spoken about a lot more, especially now. molestation is prevalent, especially
incest.
Yeah, is prevalent. There's a lot of persons that we've spoken to that experience being molested or being raped by close family friends.
Family members.
Yeah, so it's
because
an
that's
issue.
even the starting point, you know, in the family. A lot of times it's family and close friends.
Yeah, exactly. So like this is something that needs to be talked about more, so we can try and eradicate it more so than having a cycle be continued. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
But before we wrap up, is there any gems that you'd like to leave, or any thing that you want to say to comfort those in Jamaica who are going through domestic violence, or any challenges or molestation or anything? Any comforting words that you can leave with us before we go, for the people of Jamaica and the world?
What I always say is, and I'm going to start in the context of what is a hot topic being debated in Parliament and in the wider society. The suggestion and proposal to put a time limit on reporting sexual abuse matters. As I was saying to somebody this morning, you can't rush somebody who has been through the trauma of sexual abuse. You can't rush their feelings. You can't put a timeline on when they should get it out. Because people who can't speak about trauma years later, because for them it is reliving something that is the worst part of them. Give them time, and you have to be patient, and you have to understand that sexual abuse is not just an invasion of the body, it's an invasion of the mind. You go to the mind and you break it down, that person is left defeated mentally because they have a lot of questions. Not everybody is strong enough to say it wasn't my fault.
True.
A lot of internalize to say, what did I do? I wonder if it's something I did. And so they have to go through a process psychologically before they can get to the point to talk. But my words to anyone who is suffering in that area is take time with you, but always know that there's somebody out there who cares and will listen. So if it is that you don't want to talk to anybody, write it, get a little book, write it. It's important to get it out. Have it on something, or whether or not somebody's ears, your black and white, your pen, and you write it out and give yourself that opportunity to heal, because it's never something that you should internalize as your fault. You didn't invite anything on you. An unwanted touch is an unwanted touch. Whether you're wearing a nice, sexy shorts or skirt, I mean, nobody has the right to violate your space or your body. So my words are going to be, give yourself time to heal, but break the silence. Open up to your book or your friend or anybody that you feel comfortable with. And that's the point. I mean, some of them don't have that option to feel comfortable with, to just say to a family member, because the family members sometimes are going to turn it back and say, what did you do?
Especially with the with girls, but even with boys as well, because you know the macho thing that we have in Jamaica.
Exactly. So there's this phrase I created. It's my little phrase. It says, justice without compassion is just ice, and it's a play on justice. So if you break it up, JUST-ICE, I'm saying justice without compassion is just ice. So one of the things I try to encourage persons, not just judges like myself, but persons, you have to empathize and try to understand that you can't just look at everything as the act done and punishment to come. You have to go behind the scenes to see what would have caused this perpetrator to act this way, one, and now look at the victim to see how can you build that victim from this space by helping that victim too to understand that you didn't do anything wrong. This person was broken because of this part of this person's history. So you have to look at it from both sides. I mean, monsters weren't just born, they were created.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you have to look to see how a person is developing through their trauma and what changes, help them to change so that they don't abuse somebody else. Because I believe there is hope for everybody, but it's just how you touch them and what you do to touch them.
That's actually that's wonderfully put. Trust me. And it definitely sheds light on a different viewpoint of how you can actually attack issues like those. So definitely appreciate that.
Yeah. And we want to tell you that we really appreciate you coming to spend time with us. I'm sure your message will inspire someone. It was clear, and it's really good to see that we can have different people from different walks of life coming on our program to share their stories. This is what Jamaica needs. This is what the world needs, because sometimes we only want to focus on certain topics, the gossip, the mix-up, but sometimes the pressing issues get left by the wayside. Yeah, it is good. And this interview is very relevant, especially with what is going on right now in the media about rape and about saying no, and about physically abusive men and verbally abusive or emotionally abusive women. So it's a very good topic, to present in this climate that is going on right now. Thank you so much, and
Thank you for having me.
Wish you all the best. Continue to be an awesome judge. I'm sure that your clients really appreciate your decisions, and I'm sure within your rights you'll make the best decision for those who come.
And continue to inspire also, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I'm happy I was able to share with you.
All right.
All the best for the season. Take care.
Bye-bye. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Bye. To you. Bye.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.